I'm 5'1". My wife is 5'9". Also, I'm the biggest introvert I know. I'm not even kidding. I once pretended to be asleep for an entire 6-hour car ride so I wouldn't have to talk to people. And no, I'm not rich, if that's what you're thinking. If I can find a wife, I am telling you, you can too. I know Valentine's Day can be hard for a lot of guys, especially the introverts. Some of you watching may even be thinking, it's never gonna happen for me. I used to feel the exact same way. That's why I wanna help you out. It makes me so sad to see guys so down about their romantic lives, especially on Valentine's Day. So I wanna give you 5 specific challenges today that I had to walk through myself. These are the 5 things that took me from being the guy fake sleeping in a car to being a married man. So challenge number 1, is your fear of people greater than your desire to get married? Because look, you could transform yourself into the perfect guy. You could get the best job, you could have the best haircut, the best personality, but if that fear of people is still controlling your heart, you're never going to take the leap. You'll never actually ask anyone out. And this was me. So how do you get past this? For me, the answer wasn't just trying harder to be brave. You can't just try harder. It was getting closer to God. And I know that sounds like a Sunday school answer, but hear me out. Getting closer to God, that's what made him more real in my life. And the more real God is to you, the less fear you're going to have of everything else. For example, think of the story of Daniel in the lion's den. For anyone that doesn't know, Daniel was thrown into a pit of lions because prayer became outlawed in the country he was living in. And of course, he loved God, so he didn't stop praying. So he was thrown in the lion's den, but instead of being eaten, the lions didn't even touch him. He was perfectly fine. And the next day, they got him out and he was all good. God protected him. And for me, the more real stories like this become, the more I realize that the same God who shuts the mouths of lions is the God that stands next to me. So then I have less fear in my day-to-day life. I start to actually have confidence in God's power because he's more real to me. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're saying that sounds great, but it feels a lot easier to face an actual lion than face a girl I find attractive, to be honest. I want to tell you, I totally get it. I've lived that. But I want to encourage you with something. In Isaiah 41:10, God says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." See, that's the beautiful thing about God. We have a lot of fear as humans. I'm someone who's struggled deep with deep fear and anxiety my whole life. But that's exactly why we need God in the first place. Humans are naturally afraid, and that's where God comes in. He meets us exactly where our weakness is. 2 Corinthians 12 says, "My grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness." And later on, Paul responds to that statement by God saying, "Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weakness, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For when I am weak, then I am strong." It's okay to admit that you're terrified. It's actually a beautiful thing to be humble enough to admit how much you need Christ to overcome your fear. If you're sitting there thinking, "I'm too weak to even say hello to her," that's good. That's the exact moment where God's power can rest on you. So that's your first step. Make God more real in your life than the lions you're afraid of. Challenge number 2 is become more Christ-like. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Okay, become more Christ-like, I'll read my Bible, I'll pray, I'll check off all the spiritual boxes so that God will finally unlock the wife for me. And then you feel like a hypocrite because you feel like you're doing it all just to get the girl. I want to stop you right there and tell you, it's okay if wanting a wife is part of your motivation. Look, the main priority, of course, for reading the Bible, being in community, following God is because we love Jesus. We want to follow him. He is number 1, yes. But I'm telling you, becoming more like Jesus does effectively help you find godly women. For me, when I was single, I read my Bible every day because I did love God and wanted to follow him. But if I'm being honest, I did have that extra motivation of wanting to be the kind of man a godly woman would actually want to marry. Think about it like this. God created us with the desire for a spouse. So that desire comes from him. So it totally makes sense that God would use that natural desire to pull us closer to him. It's not a trick or a transaction. It's a good thing that goes hand in hand by God's design. You don't just want to attract any woman. You want to attract a quality woman, someone who will be a godly wife, someone who brings you joy, someone who can help lead you towards Christ, and you can help her become more like Christ. And the best way to attract a woman who loves the qualities of Jesus, his peace, his character, his love, is for you to have those qualities yourself. Be like Jesus. Act like him. It filters out the wrong people and it filters in the right ones. So how do we do this? It's not just scanning pages of text. It's diving into the Bible to actually understand it. Memorize scripture, for example. Look into details of your life and ask, where do I need to grow? And then look up specific places in the Bible where you can learn how to grow there. And you can't do this alone. We all have blind spots. I have them. You have them. This is why you need mentors, biblically centered men who can see what you can't. This is why you need to be in church community. Even if you're too shy to talk to those older married guys like I was, just being around them and watching their lives day to day gives you something to emulate, to strive for. My third challenge for you is to serve at your church. Now, let me clarify something. I'm not just saying I believe this is a good idea. I'm saying this actually from my own experience. Serving was the single best way to get closer to people, not just to find a wife, but to be closer to people. I've been in Bible studies, small groups, and those are great. But the closest friends I have today, the people that I'm actually tight with, are the ones I met in the ministries where I was actually doing something. And that includes my wife. We actually had been aware of each other, not friends, but been aware of each other for about 2 or 3 years, had seen each other at church, but nothing happened there. Our connection didn't really start till we both started serving in our church's high school ministry. There's just something about seeing someone in a service capacity that draws you in. When you serve together, you're basically going to war in a sense. You're going out against the forces of evil. You're trying to change lives for Christ, and you're facing the same trials. Even if it's not quote unquote hard, there's still going to be difficult moments, and going through those trials together creates a bond that a coffee shop chat just can't touch. I think there's a really good chance you could find a solid Christian wife in the ministry you're serving in because you're bonding over the most important thing in your lives. But, and this is a big but, you have to check your heart. I'm not telling you to sign up for the greeting team or for the youth group just to scout for a wife. Please do not do that. Don't do it purely out of selfishness. If you do that, people can smell it from a mile away, and it's not a good look. Serve because you love Jesus, but be open to the fact that God often places your future spouse right next to you while you're doing his work. Challenge number 4 is getting your community involved. If you are in a healthy Christian community with people who really love you and who really love God, those people are going to want to see you get married because marriage is a wonderful gift from God. So a solid church community knows that. They cheer it on. They get excited about it. But here's the problem. As introverts, we tend to keep our desires a secret, at least I did, because we don't want to look desperate or weak, or we're just afraid we'll be judged. But for the last 2 years before I found my wife, I decided to be completely open. I told everyone that I really want to get married. I'd ask my friends, what do you think about this person? Or what do you think I need in my life to change to become someone worthy of being a husband? I would literally share how frustrated I was that I wasn't married yet. And you know what happened? Because I was open, people came alongside me. They helped me grow as a man. And ultimately, through that openness, it brought about one of my friends at church to start talking to one of her friends about me, and she suggested we go on a date. And basically, she set us up, and that setup led to our first date, and that girl eventually became my wife. Healthy Christian community wants to help you find the one. They love marriage, but they can't help you if they don't know that you're looking. So be open, ask for advice, and let them help you. So lastly, challenge number 5, you actually have to go on dates. Now, I think for a long time, especially probably in the early 2010s Christian culture, it felt like asking someone for coffee was this monumental, life-altering moment. It felt like you had to do all your homework and be sure 100% that she was the one you were going to marry before you even dared to ask anyone out on a first date. But I think that wasn't really the right mentality. The purpose of going on dates is to find out those things. You don't need to know if you're perfectly compatible yet. If she loves the Lord, follows him, and is striving to be like Christ, that is all the homework you need in order to ask her out. That is all you need. But I know what's stopping you. It's the what if. What if she says no? What if it's awkward? I've had those fears myself, trust me, I know. But let me get vulnerable for a second. There are 5 women at my church that I asked out, and they all said no to me. Until a few of them recently moved, I used to see them every Sunday. Sometimes I saw them multiple times a week. And you want to know the truth? It's not awkward. There's no bad blood. I'm still good friends with them. People tell me, that's crazy. That's so weird that you can be close with someone who rejected you. But I think it comes down to maturity. If you are a mature, Christ-like guy, and that means you're asking out a mature, Christ-like woman, you can both handle a no with grace. A godly woman isn't going to mock you or try to make you feel small. She's your sister in Christ. And look, the more you go on dates, the more comfortable you're gonna be on those dates. Yes, the first one might feel like a heart attack. You might feel like your entire soul is being judged, but I promise you, as you keep doing it, it gets less scary. You realize that a no isn't a catastrophe. It's just a sign that God has a different path for you. So don't wait until you're not scared anymore. Do it while you're scared. Because like we said earlier, when you're weak, that's when he's strong. I do want to say though, that at the end of the day, being single is not a bad thing. In fact, Paul even writes about how it's actually a gift. And I actually feel like I wasted my single years. So click on the video on the screen to learn more about that.